Now there's this really good online publication. They've been doing a lot of UFO stories called Liberation Times, and I know I've quoted them on some other occasions as well. And they had an article here last week about whistleblowers, and it looks like they're ready to go. The whistleblowers are ready to go. It's all a matter of the National Defense Authorization Act getting signed into law, and that's not going to happen until after the November midterms. But they had this excellent article on there, and it's apparently there's whistleblowers ready to go before Congress. I mean, so we could see something. Again, I'm still finding it, until I see this, right, I find it hard to believe. But until I see it, right, I'm going to question it. Like I just until disclosure of some sort happens, a full disclosure, right? It's always going to seem like it's hard to believe. Right? It was like almost like, to me, it's like all the years leading up to finally when the Eagles won a Super Bowl in 2018. I never thought. I love the Philadelphia Eagles. It just seemed like they were never going to win a Super Bowl, and they finally did it. And this is similar in my mind. Even it seems even more distant of a possibility, actually, UFO disclosure coming from the government. But when I read this article, it seems pretty promising, so let's go through some of it. Sources have told Liberation Times that the National Defense Authorization Act could be passed in weeks after upcoming midterm elections in November, although it is cautioned that there are no certainties with regard to the exact timeline due to political divisions, changes in political composition following midterms, and the Ukrainian situation. However, sources have stated that public hearings can be expected after the NDAA is signed into law, and that whistleblowers have already been contacted to speak before Congress. Liberation Times understands that the best case scenario could see such hearings occur before Christmas. There has been some doubt whether any whistleblowers testifying could back up their claims. However, Liberation Times understands from multiple political and defense sources that a substantial amount of information involving secretive UAP retrieval and back engineering programs has been verified by Congress. And then Jeremy Corbell, of course, the filmmaker and UFO investigator, who we all know, and I like Jeremy Corbell. I always like listening to that guy. I think he's great. He's very enthusiastic about this and wants to get that information out. That's the mindset we all need. We need to all have the mindset of someone like Jeremy Corbell. Let's get that information out. It's real. All right, continuing. Anyway, here was a comment that Corbell gave to the Liberation Times. Regarding the mystery of UFOs, the silver bullet is coming. The moment it is understood by the public that not only have we obtained spacecraft fabricated by a non-human intelligence, but that we have also been attempting to reverse engineer that technology for decades. Pandora's box is finally open. This new legislation to provide amnesty and immunity for those involved in these programs to come forward is a potential game changer. I have personally spoken with numerous individuals who have had roles in these legacy UFO exploitation programs. So he's talking to some of these whistleblowers. And so he really believes that they're going to come out and blow the whistle. I hope so. I hope he's right. There have also been reports of a major pushback. Now, he's not saying this is part of the article here. It says there have also been reports of a major pushback within some quarters of the Department of Defense from those who are against whistleblowers speaking out and further information being made public. Although it now looks like a chain of events has now been put into motion, which may lead to a flurry of information coming forwards. Regarding reprisals, Corbell commented, "The fear has always been reprisal, and that fear has always been justified. Pushback has occurred against these people as recently as this year. And as has been predicted, the closer the public gets to the good stuff, the more the pushback has increased. Make no mistake, the world is creaking under the stress and the weight of the UFO reality, and now we have an opportunity for this truth to be revealed, and our society will be forever changed by it." Yes, he's completely correct on that. Now, I'm going to stop there for a second. we're living this life, all of us we're all worried about politics. We're all worried about, all these little things going on in our own lives, how we're going to, you have Saudi Arabia, cutting down production on purpose just to increase the gas prices. And we have to deal with all these things. And there are things we have to worry about. We all have to worry about these things. We all have to, put food on the table. We all have to, have a roof over our heads. I mean, there's all these things we worry about, and so most of us don't have the time to worry about the UFO situation, the UFO problem. I think that the world would change to the better. Actually, I think there's a chance, even though there's, some will say, hey, society will collapse. I think it's possible that the world would change for the better. Maybe it would stop aggression amongst nations. Aggression amongst each other. We would all realize that there's, hey, we should be worried about what's coming here instead of worried about fighting each other and hating on each other, right? I don't know, just a thought. Anyway, continuing here with this great article. With such information now verified and ongoing frustrations with the UAP All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, there is thought to be urgency from Congress to make more information public and answer ongoing questions relating to the origin and operators of unidentified craft at a time when reports have escalated since 2021. In July 2022, one DoD insider told Liberation Times that verifiable information had been given. Here's a quote from this anonymous DoD insider. Laws are not written in a vacuum. Behind closed doors, lawmakers have met with current and former government insiders who have provided multi-source and verifiable information that has shaped the language we are seeing today. The wording is very specific, and many who are aware of the history of this subject will immediately understand why January 1st, 1947 is the date in which the Comptroller General must use as day one of their compiled intelligence review and report that is due to Congress. And then the article continues. It says, at that time, Vice Chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Marco Rubio, commented on the importance of the IAA containing whistleblower immunity language, stating, this year's Senate Intelligence Reauthorization was approved unanimously and is the most consequential one ever offered. Investigative reporter George Knapp has also commented on the topic of verifiable information provided to Congress. Now, Knapp said on a recent Coast to Coast AM broadcast, it's clear that somebody has been sharing information with them. I can tell for sure that there are people who have met with them and have told them not only that there are these legacy programs that have materials, and by materials I don't mean just scraps of metal from the ground, but intact craft remains, physical remains of beings. These stories have been floating around for a long time. I know that there are a couple of people in particular who know about this stuff down to the point of the buildings where this stuff is stashed, who are willing to come forward if they are protected. And now this legislation indicates they will be protected as whistleblowers, that their security clearances will not be revoked, and it's pretty exciting. And then the article continues. It says here, it is understood that there are people within the Department of Defense and intelligence community urging that the process of dissemination be accelerated due to escalating tensions between the United States and Russia. Such people point to Ronald Reagan's historic speech when he stated that an alien threat could bring nations together, which I was just talking about anyhow. But anyway, as you can see, there are people out there who are trying to get the word out, and there's whistleblowers. They are lining up. I know we've talked about this before. And it could happen. I mean, this seems like, this is probably the closest we've ever come to anything like this. We've never seen anything like this in our history, in the history of the United States. We've never come this close. Now there's always that possibility that the rug gets pulled out from underneath this whole effort, or somehow it gets bogged down again. It seems like that's something that happens, but you never know. My mentality on this changes every day. My feelings on it, some days I'm optimistic about it. I need to keep that optimism that you see that someone like Jeremy Corbell, exudes. Like he's completely, eternally optimistic that there's going to be this disclosure that's going to happen. Unfortunately, I'm not that way. Some days I am, some days I'm not. I'm sure a lot of people are like that. We're human beings. How could you be sometimes things just don't work out. They haven't worked out. To this point, they really haven't worked out. Now, we've gotten closer. I mean, since the Lou Elizondo stepped into the picture in 2017, right? And those images were leaked, right? We've been getting something. But it does seem like they're trying to pull back a little bit. There was a lot of nonsense that was going on last May during that congressional hearing. The two Department of Defense officials there, they acted really dumb about it, at least in public, right? Maybe they were a little bit more forthcoming when they had the closed meetings in front of the Congress, but they seemed, oh, we never heard of that, almost. They never heard of the Wilson Davis memo or anything like that. Come on! You never heard of that? I'm sure you at least had to look into it, whether you believed in it or not, right? If you're in the Pentagon, you didn't have heard of the Wilson Davis memo. Come on. Anybody in intelligence would have heard about that, and they would have looked into it, and they would have wondered if it was real or not. And some of them probably know for a fact if it is. I think it is real. I've already talked about that. I think that stuff was real anyhow. But these people acted dumb. And there's Elizondo talking about this before, that there are people in the government, in the Pentagon, that because of their religious convictions, they don't want this information to get out because they think it's demonic. So they don't believe in science. You have basically people in the Pentagon who who don't believe in science, and they don't want the information to get out because that their personal religious convictions says one thing, and that's what they believe in no matter what, and they don't want anybody else to believe anything else. They don't want scientists to have this information, and which is absolutely absurd. You shouldn't have somebody like somebody who's thinking that way shouldn't be in any top position in the Pentagon. That you need to keep that at home, okay? That stays at home, that part. You believe, that's fine. Religious, I don't care what you want to believe in, that's fine, right? But don't bring it to the Pentagon to work, right? When it comes to something like this. I mean, you have solid objects hidden in some hangar somewhere, right? For a fact there's something here. It wasn't sent by Satan, okay? Anyway, hey, this is an optimistic article. Liberation Times seems like a very optimistic UFO site. I'll leave the link there for it. Check it out. It's very interesting. And hey, maybe this will be maybe by January, right? They're talking here right before Christmas, right? Maybe by January we'll be talking about, maybe we'll all be looking through the Roswell files. Boy, that would be great. If there's a whistleblower out there, one of these whistleblowers, some of these people, somebody who's in Majestic 12 right now. Again, I've talked about this before. It would be great to get the documents of the crashes to, bring that to Congress. Just bring it. All the film, everything you can get. And everyone wants to really know. Let's start with Roswell. Let's start with that. What do you got on that? Show us the film that was taken. That's what I want to see. I want to see the big stuff. I want to see the bodies at the site. I want to see the old film footage that was taken at this crash site. I know it exists. It has to. There's no doubt about it because it happened. It really did happen. So that would be awesome. I want to see all that stuff. So I want one of these whistleblowers, or a couple of them maybe, to go all out. Bring it into this. Bring it into it. And that's the way to bring it into it, is to give us the best stuff you got, the best evidence. Anyway. We'll see.